What's up, everyone? It's your favorite marketer and podcast host. My name is Prit. I'm the author of 0 to 4 Figures, a marketing strategy consultant, and a digital entrepreneur. A few of the roles that I do take on, I'm a podcaster, YouTuber, Etsy shop owner, and Skillshare Teacher as well. All of the links are in the description box below if you would like to check it out. On this podcast, I shuffle between giving solo podcast episodes as well as bringing in experts to give you actionable steps on various marketing, business, and mindset strategies to help you grow the business you love. Today, I'm going to have a solo podcast episode where I'm going to be talking about how to look at failures positively. And I think that this is such a heavy topic, to be very honest with you. I think that while we were growing up, the only thing that I remember being taught is that failure is not an option, You've got to pass your exams, you've got to pass your PE, you've got to pass these tests. Every single thing while growing up for me was always about doing well. And honestly, I don't think that translated very well into my adulthood. I think that while we're growing up, it's important, of course, that we are in the mindset that we do well and, we do our best more than doing well. It's about doing our best. But I think somewhere along the way, it was ingrained in us that we cannot fail. Failure is something that happens to only weak people, or failure is not an option. These are phrases that I'm pretty sure you've also grown up hearing as well. And unfortunately, when it comes to the entrepreneurial journey, failure is actually a very, very necessary part of this entire process. And it's hard for us being conditioned so much by the society about the negatives of failure. It's hard for us to accept that failure is a part of this journey. And oftentimes, we don't talk about it. You don't hear people talking about failure. And that's one of the reasons it's such a taboo to talk about it. People don't want to talk about, maybe 6 launches that didn't go well, that had no sales. And frankly, I've actually written this in my book too. The first 7 launches that I had, only the last one was successful. 6 of them, I barely had 5 sales in total of all of those 6 launches. And that happened over a period of, I think, 2 years. And so not many people talk about this. So we think that failure is something that is a very rare occurrence. But if more people were to start opening up about their journey, about the failures that they've had, about the lows that they've had, I think that would actually give us a more realistic view that failure is actually very, very common on this path. And I actually believe that failure is part of a healthy cycle. I think that if you are not failing from time to time, I think that there is something wrong with the process or how you're approaching things, or maybe you're just taking the easy way out, because as entrepreneurs, we're instinctually driven to keep pushing ourselves, to keep pushing our limits. And when that happens, failure is actually a necessary part of that cycle of pushing ourselves and accomplishing, of pushing our limits and then accomplishing something. It's a very, very necessary part of that. And I think that is how I personally look at failures. I think that failure is just a redirection, frankly. I think that a lot of times the word failure is so scary because there's just so much taboo associated with it. But when you look at failure as redirection, as a new starting point for where you have to continue your path, I think that's just a healthier way to look at it. Instead of taking it personally that because this failed in my business, I am a failure. I think instead of that, if we were to look at failure as just a new starting point for us to start, wow. Prit trying to hit that 1,000-word count in her essay, I think. But what I was trying to say was, if we look at failure as just a new starting point, I think it becomes easier for us to cope with it. And oftentimes, I think one of the reasons why we struggle so much with failure is because there is a gap between where we thought we would be and where we currently are at, which is at the position where things have not gone correctly or to our expectations. I wouldn't even say correctly, I would just say to our expectations. Because whether things go correct or not, I don't think that concept even exists. I think things just do whatever they want. And I don't think it's on us to judge if it is the correct way to go or the wrong way to go. And I think that it's just our expectations. Again, one of the factors that contribute to why we are so afraid of failure. We're so afraid of that taboo because we're afraid that we're stooping from our expectations of how things should go. And I think that on this entrepreneurial journey, having failed multiple times, I think that I have readjusted my mindset to cope with it. And my perception of failure is that it happens. This is my new starting point. I'm going to work from where I am at. And for me, it's just, I wouldn't even say that failure is an actual thing or a huge thing in my dictionary. For me, failure is just an adjustment of my expectations. That's what it is for me, frankly. And I think that's one of the biggest reasons why I take failure in my stride. I'm actually very proud of it. I take failure in my stride. I'm very, very positive around failure. It's not that I don't feel sad. I do feel sad when I have failed at something or when something does not go according to my expectations. But I have a very, very healthy mindset when it comes to looking at my failures or what has failed in my business or what did not go according to my expectations. I do have that. And I really wanted to share in this podcast episode because I think that a lot of times there's such a misconception around failure, and especially when it's your business. I mean, it's your baby, right? You've started it from scratch and there is a very deep emotional attachment to it. So very often, if something fails in your business, you can feel like it's on you, you know? You can take it personally. It's very easy to take this personally. But if you were to look at it as just a redirection, if you were to look at it as just a misalignment of your expectations and then readjust that, okay? Start from where you currently are at. Take your next step from where you currently are at. I think that just makes the whole experience positive in a lot of ways, okay? So that's something that I wanted to talk about. And another thing that I wanted to talk about is it's okay to feel bad. I've touched upon it a little bit on this episode in the beginning, but it's okay to feel bad, you know? It's okay to feel sad if things don't go your way. It's okay to feel bad if your expectations were not met. It's okay. It's really, really okay. A lot of times I see people kind of suppressing their emotions when it comes to failures, and I think that's very unhealthy. I think that it's essential that we take the time to process, you know? We are humans after all. We've got our own expectations. We have things that we want to go a certain way, and if that doesn't happen, yes, there is a contrast in what we're feeling and where we are currently at. And it's natural to have emotions because of that contrast. And it's important for us to process because the more you suppress, the more it is going to burst in unexpected ways like a volcano. And it could lead to different ways, you know. There have been times where I've suppressed my emotions and it's led to me being overly emotional when it comes to making my business decisions. Of course, that usually means that it's not the healthiest decision. You know, it's good to be emotional while making business decisions. I think that emotions are a very good part of it, but there is a limit to that. You know, beyond that point, it becomes detrimental to your business and the strategic direction that you want to take for your business. So for me, I believe that it's important for you to take the time to process your emotions, to understand what it is that you're feeling this moment, for you to say, it's okay, I had these expectations, they were not met, this is where I am at right now, I'm going to work from where I am at right now. I think that's just a very healthy way to go about this journey. And like I said, I did talk about this in the beginning. A lot of times, because we don't hear people talking about it, we think that failure is very rare, but failure is actually a huge part of this journey. It is a very, very integral part of this journey, as I talked about. It shows that there is a healthy cycle of failure, success, failure, success, failure, success. And that is the reality of the entrepreneurial journey. It's not just success, 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 blah, blah, blah. I can't even say it fast. Try to say it fast. I can't even say it fast. But it's not, success, 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 and then so on and so forth. It's failure, success, failure, success, failure, success. And that's normal. That's healthy. That's very, very healthy as well. And another thing that I am actually really proud of the fact that, how I look at failure is I always take it as something to learn. I'm always looking for something to learn. And I think, again, that's another positive mindset to be in, because a lot of times we look at failure and we're so scared to dig into what actually were the repercussions of it, what were the things that didn't happen, why they didn't happen. We're not in the mindset to analyze it. And I think one of the ways that has personally helped me in my business is I always take the time to analyze my failures, or I wouldn't even say my failures, I would just say things that did not go according to my expectations. I will always take the time to analyze it. And I think that's very important. And unless you have a healthy mindset and a healthy relationship with failure, you're probably not going to be comfortable in analyzing what went wrong, or why your expectations were not met, or why did things go into absolute chaos, which is 9 out of 10 times, guys. 9 out of 10 times. If you think that failure is a rare thing, I would like to tell you that it is not. And honestly, if I have to go back and change what I said in this very podcast, I think I would say failure, 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 success. Failure, 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 success. Failure, 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 success. I don't think it's actually failure, success, but I don't think it's actually that simple. I think it's like multiple failures and then one success, and then multiple failures and then one success. I really think it's that way if I look back now. So I've corrected myself in this very podcast, but I think that the second version of what I said is actually very, very accurate in terms when I look at my journey, and when I look at other entrepreneurs who very candidly share their journey as well. And my key word is candidly, because a lot of times people like to portray that it's always been success, success, success. And I think, again, that comes back to the perception that people have about success. They think it's a taboo, so they don't feel comfortable talking about it. But we should be comfortable talking about it. I mean, I've written an entire book filled with my mistakes and then the strategies that did not work, that backfired on me. And frankly, I wrote it because I was so frustrated about the kind of image that everyone was trying to portray. And I wanted to say, no, that's not the right way. That's not realistic at all. And actually, I've covered that in my book a lot. So if this podcast episode kind of resonated with you, then I think you would really like my book, 0 to 4 Figures. It's a compilation of 61 stories and lessons that have contributed to my entrepreneurial journey. And I'm going to put the link in the description box below if you'd like to check it out. And it's also available on Amazon, like your nearest Amazon marketplace. You should be able to find it. One last comment that I want to give before I wrap up this podcast episode is, don't listen to other people's opinion when it comes to failure, okay? I think that people who are, first off, not in this entrepreneurial journey, you shouldn't be taking advice from them. Let me be very, very clear about that. Unless someone's actually been through the actual stages with you or in similar situations as you, I don't think it's advisable to take their advice. And not just that, I think that you also have to be very, very, very careful about which advice you're taking and which advice you're not, because this entrepreneurial journey is pretty unique, you know? It's very, very unique as who you are as a person, because you're an important factor in that journey as well. So don't listen to what other people have to say about failures. And if they're an entrepreneur and they're on this path and they're saying, oh, you know, well, failure is not an option and you've just got to keep succeeding, I would say you probably should cut them off. That's really, really toxic. And, you know, it's not the right way. It's not a realistic perception. It's not a healthy perception. So a lot of times I think that we are so afraid to acknowledge failure because we are afraid of what other people will say. That's also another thing. So it's not just about people's opinion. We're also afraid of how people will perceive us. And frankly, I don't think any of us should care about that. I think that as long as we understand that failure is just a very necessary and important part of the cycle, failure is just redirection, failure is just giving us a new starting place to reach wherever we want to, I think that's the best mindset to be in, as long as we can look at ourselves in the mirror and reiterate the healthy definition of failure and a healthy perception of failure, then there's nothing like it, you know? So I really hope that this episode helped you. I know that there's so much of taboo when it comes to failure, but it is on us, like you and I, to change that narrative, to change how you and I perceive success and you and I perceive failure, you and I perceive redirection, you and I perceive our expectations not being met. I think it's very important. I think it's part of the process to even, like, if I have to look back, one of the lessons that I did learn is that failure is just part of this journey. It's just going to be there. It's just going to be there all the time. There's always going to be a mismatch of my expectations. There's always going to be something that goes wrong externally, or something out of my control, or something with my control and I missed. You know, there are different ways that things can go wrong, but if you have a very healthy perception of it, I think that it can actually be a stepping stone for success. And I know that that's an idiom by itself. I think failure is a stepping stone to success or something like that, right? And I believe that to be true. I really, really believe that to be true, because time and again, it's been proved in my business that every single failure was just a redirection, and it was an opportunity for me to, I guess, have a new starting point, a much more realistic starting point to take me to where I said I wanted to go, like my dream, my aspirations, my goals, and stuff like that. So I think if we look at failure in that way, it just gives us so much of a peace of mind, honestly, because you're going to be dealing, like I said, failure, and then one success, and then failure, blah, 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 and then so on and so forth. So majority of the time, things are not going to be going according to your expectations. Majority of the time, it's going to be chaos. And if you don't have a healthy perception or a healthy mindset about it, then you're probably going to be frustrated a lot on this journey. And at the end of the day, if you're not happy, then what's the point, right? If we took this journey because we want to be happy, because we want that freedom, this makes us happy. And if we deprive ourselves of that, then what's the point of even going on this entrepreneurial journey? And I want all of us to continue on this path because it makes us happy, right? The success makes us happy, but the failure also should make us happy. And if that's one thing that you can take away from my podcast episode, I really would like it to be that. Success should make you happy, but the failure also should make you happy because it's just a redirection. It's just a new starting point. All right? Thank you so much for listening all the way up until here. Of course, I'm going to put details of my book, 0 to 4 Figures, in the description box below. You can catch it in your nearest Amazon marketplace as well. Do catch me on my other platforms. Come over, come say hi. Do come and catch me on my other platforms. I am there on Instagram at The Marketing Nomad. I am there, where else? So many other places. Etsy, The Marketing Nomad CO, Skillshare, The Marketing Nomad. No, wait, Skillshare, I'm there as Prithvi Madhukar. That's actually my full name. And then where else? Podcast, The Marketing Nomad Show. YouTube, The Marketing Nomad as well. Thank you so much for listening all the way up until here. I will catch you in my next episode. Bye-bye.